Hey there and welcome. You know, when you're telling a story and you get tangled up trying to explain what happened first, well, today we're going to fix that. We're unlocking a super useful piece of English grammar, the past perfect tenses. By the end of this, you'll be telling stories with way more clarity, really mastering that idea of the past before the past. All right, let's jump right in. So, what's the big deal here? Take a look at these two sentences. By the time we arrived, they ate the cake. Okay, that's a little confusing, right? Did they start eating the moment we walked through the door? But that second sentence, they had eaten the cake. Now that is crystal clear. The cake was completely gone before we ever showed up. That one little word, had, changes everything. And that's exactly what we're here to master. So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the main idea. Then we'll break down the two tenses one by one. After that, we'll put them side by side to compare, and we'll wrap up with a quick quiz so you can see what you've learned. First things first, let's get our heads around this core concept. The past perfect tenses, which, fun fact, are sometimes called the pluperfect, are basically your secret weapon for telling a good story. They help you set the scene by making it totally clear what happened first, even when your whole story is already set in the past. Really, at its heart, the job of this tense is pretty simple. It describes an action that was already finished before something else happened in the past. Think of it like you're creating a timeline for your listener, so there's absolutely no confusion about the order of events. All right, let's get into our first tense, the past perfect simple. And as the name implies, its whole deal is focusing on actions that are done, finished, over with, completed actions. And the great news is, the formula is super simple, and it never changes. It doesn't matter if the subject is I, you, he, she, or they, it's always the same. You just take your subject, add the word had, and then follow it with the past participle of the verb. You know, words like eaten, seen, or finished. So when do you actually use this thing? Well, it's pretty versatile. First, it shows the sequence of events, right? Like, after she had finished her work, she went home. It also helps explain the cause of something. Then there's reported speech, like he said he had already seen that movie. And finally, it's a huge part of those if clauses about the past, like, if I had known you were coming, I would have baked a cake. Now, this is a perfect example of that cause and effect thing. Why did she win? This sentence gives us the backstory because at an earlier time in the past, she had practiced. The practicing happened first, and that's what caused her to win. See how that works? And what about questions and negatives? It's so easy. To ask a question, you just flip the subject and had. So, you had finished becomes had you finished? For negatives, you just pop not after had, which we usually shorten to hadn't, as in they hadn't completed the project. Simple as that. Okay, so that was the simple form. Now let's add another layer with the continuous form. If the simple tense is all about completion, the continuous tense is all about duration. It emphasizes how long an action was going on for. And the structure here is just as reliable. You take your subject, add the magic little phrase had been, and then finish it all off with the ing form of your verb. So, she had been studying, or we had been working. Easy. So why would you use this one? It's all about adding detail and context. You use it to show how long something was happening, like they had been driving for 6 hours. You also use it to explain the reason for a feeling or a situation. And it's fantastic for setting a background scene that gets interrupted, which is great for storytelling. For instance, I had been reading for about an hour when the power suddenly went out. This example just nails it. Why were they exhausted? Because of that long, ongoing action that had been happening, the walking. The focus isn't just that they walked, it's the sheer duration, the all-afternoon part, that explains why they were so tired. And just like before, questions and negatives are a piece of cake. For a question, had jumps to the front. For a negative, not comes right after had, giving us that common contraction hadn't been. It's the same pattern, you just have been and the ing verb tagging along. Okay, so we've looked at both of them. Now it's time for the main event, putting them head to head. The key to figuring out which one you need almost always comes down to this one simple idea: completion versus duration. This table really breaks it down. The past perfect simple is all about the result. The action was finished, done. The past perfect continuous, on the other hand, is about the process. It's about how long that action was happening. If you just remember result versus process, you'll be golden. Let's make this super concrete. If I say, he had repaired the car, that means the job is finished. You can get in and drive away. But if I say he had been repairing the car, that tells a totally different story. That describes the activity he was busy with, probably right before you walked in and saw him covered in grease. One is the finished result, the other is the ongoing process. All right, theory time is over. You've seen how it all works, and now it's time to put it into practice. Let's do a quick quiz to really lock this in. Ready? Okay, first one up. His hands were dirty. Why? Is the sentence focused on the finished result or the duration of the action? The clue is right there. All morning. What do you think?
And the answer is B, had been fixing. That phrase, all morning, is a dead giveaway, isn't it? It emphasizes how long the activity was going on, which is why his hands were dirty. Awesome job if you got that.
Let's try question number 2. Here we've got a clear sequence of events. First the reading, then the watching. Is the focus here on the long process of reading, or on the fact that the reading was completed before the movie started?
And you got it. The answer is B, had read. This is a classic example of one completed action happening before another. We finish the book, then we watch the movie. The simple form is perfect here.
Okay, last one. Look for that clue again. For over an hour. What is that phrase screaming at you? Is it about a finished result, or is it about the long, boring, ongoing process of waiting? The answer to that last one was, of course, B, had been waiting, because for over an hour is all about duration. Fantastic work. So you've got the secret now. You know how to unlock a deeper, clearer level of storytelling. So the real question is for you. When are you going to notice this out in the wild? The next time you're reading a book or watching a show, listen for it. You'll hear it all the time, and now you'll know exactly what it's doing there.